All right, so you send over a ton of stuff about fitness myths,
Yep.
articles, videos, the whole works. And we're going to dive in, try to help you sort it all out. Facts from fiction. We got some interesting perspectives here. Physical therapists, fitness coaches, even a philosopher who, well, sadly died from eating too many watermelons. Talk about dedication.
An interesting case study, perhaps, in
My history.
Belgium.
Yeah, indeed. But before we go down that particular rabbit hole, let's focus on helping you build strength, lose weight, improve your health overall, cut through all the noise, get to the truth.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. First up, this myth that you have to stretch before you work out. I used to spend like ages touching my toes before every run, convinced I was preventing injuries.
Well, it's not that stretching is bad. It's just about being strategic. Holding a stretch for a long time, right before like a really intense workout, might not be the best approach. Think about it this way. You wouldn't try to sprint with like cold muscles, right? You
Sure.
need to warm them up
So are
gradually.
you saying those long toe touches are like a total waste of time?
Not necessarily. Static stretching, like holding a stretch, for like 30 seconds or so, can be great for like relaxing your muscles, improving flexibility. But it's best to do it after a proper warm up, something that gets your blood flowing, gets your central nervous system primed. So instead of those lengthy toe touches, maybe try some dynamic stretches like arm circles or leg swings before you head out on that run.
Okay, that makes sense. So dynamic stretches before, static stretches after. Got it. What about this one? You must eat protein bars and shakes before and after every workout.
Huh. I used to think if I skipped my post workout shake, that I totally like wasted my gym time.
Well, the supplement industry is a master of marketing, but the reality is it really depends on the type of workout you're doing and your overall diet. For like a standard 30-minute workout, you probably don't need those extra snacks.
Mm.
Focus on getting enough protein throughout the day from your meals. It's kind of like building a house. You need a consistent supply of bricks, not just a big pile dumped at the end. So instead of relying on supplements, I should just make sure I'm eating enough protein in general.
Exactly. A balanced diet is key. And, one of the articles you sent even pointed out that carnivores in the wild don't seem to have any issues without protein shakes.
Huh. Makes you think, right? Okay, let's tackle this one. Longer workouts are always better. I'm sure we've all seen those people. Practically living at the gym,
Hmm.
thinking more is always better.
Oh, yeah. It's easy to fall into that trap. But you got to remember, it's not just about working hard. It's about working smart. Overtraining can lead to injuries, exhaustion, and that'll ultimately set you back. The National Health Service actually recommends 75 minutes of vigorous exercise
Oh.
or 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week.
So quality over quantity. That's good news for those of us who don't want to spend every waking hour at the gym.
Yeah.
Speaking of quality, let's talk about this idea of spot-reducing fat. I remember doing hundreds of crunches, convinced that I could specifically target my belly fat.
Ugh, the spot reduction myth. Sadly, it's just not how our bodies work. You can build muscle in specific areas, but your body decides where it burns fat from overall. It's like trying to empty a swimming pool. By only draining one corner,
Right.
you need a more comprehensive approach.
So doing endless crunches won't magically give you six-pack abs.
They'll definitely strengthen your core, but they won't directly melt away the fat. To see real changes in your body composition, you need to focus on full body routines and a healthy diet. That's the key to unlocking your six-pack potential.
All right, I'm starting to see a pattern here. A lot of these myths, they come from this idea that we need to punish our bodies into shape.
It's a common Well, while soreness can sometimes be a sign of muscle growth, it's important to differentiate between soreness and pain. Pain is your body's way of saying something's wrong. Soreness, particularly that delayed onset muscle soreness. You know the kind you feel a day or two after a workout. That's often due to microscopic tears in your muscle fibers. It's a natural part of the muscle building process. But pushing through actual pain can lead to injury.
So soreness, yes. Pain, no.
Exactly. And keep in mind, as you get fitter, your body actually becomes more efficient at repairing those tiny muscle tears. So you might actually experience less soreness over time.
That's good to know. So it means you're getting stronger, not slacking off. Now, this next myth is one I hear a lot from women. Lifting weights will make you bulky. It's almost as if there's this fear of accidentally becoming a bodybuilder.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of anxiety around that. But let me assure you, building significant muscle mass requires a lot of dedicated effort, a very specific diet, and sometimes even supplementation. It's not something that happens by accident. Plus, women generally have lower levels of testosterone than men, which makes it harder to build large muscles.
So lifting weights a few times a week won't suddenly transform me into the Hulk.
Not at all. In fact, strength training has tons of benefits for women, including increased strength, a faster metabolism, and stronger bones. It's about embracing your power, not shying away from it.
All right, I'm feeling empowered. Let's move on to a myth that's often touted as like a quick fix.
hmm
Detoxing or juice cleanses are the key to weight loss. Have you ever tried one of these?
I've certainly seen them gain popularity, especially on social media. But the truth is, drastically cutting calories and eliminating solid foods can actually backfire. Your body needs a variety of nutrients to function properly, and these extreme diets can really mess with your metabolism and lead to rebound weight gain.
So instead of starving myself on a juice cleanse, I should just focus on making sustainable changes to my diet.
Exactly. Think long term, not quick fix. A balanced diet with plenty of whole foods is the best way to nourish your body and achieve sustainable weight loss,
That sounds much more appealing than a week of just juice.
and much healthier in the long run.
Now, this next myth, I think a lot of us struggle with this one. You have to avoid all junk food to lose weight. It makes healthy eating feel like this constant battle against temptation.
Well, let's reframe this a bit. Instead of junk food, think of it as sometimes food. You can still enjoy your favorite treats occasionally. It's all about making mindful choices and understanding portion control. Depriving yourself completely often leads to cravings and binges, which isn't helpful for anyone.
So it's about finding a balance. That allows me to enjoy those treats without feeling guilty.
Exactly. It's all about building a healthy relationship with food, one that's based on enjoyment and nourishment, rather than restriction and guilt.
I like that. Sometimes food. It takes the pressure off. Okay, one last myth for this part. Morning workouts are the best for boosting metabolism. Any truth to that? I'm definitely not a morning person.
It's a popular belief, but you can actually benefit from exercise at any time of day. The key is to choose a time that works for your schedule and your body's natural rhythms.
So if I'm not a morning person, I don't have to force myself to work out before dawn.
Absolutely not. If you're more of a night owl, embrace it. Find a time that you enjoy and that you can stick to consistently. That's what matters most.
Well, that's a relief. I'm starting to see that a lot of these myths are about fitting into a mold that doesn't work for everyone. It's much more empowering to find what works for you.
Absolutely.
We'll be back in a flash with part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll continue to debunk even more fitness myths and help you create a fitness routine that you actually enjoy. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We're diving even deeper into these fitness myths. And I'm already feeling so much more informed, like I can finally ditch those restrictive rules that were holding me back.
That's the power of knowledge.
Speaking of which, earlier you mentioned that soreness is often linked to the lactate system. Can you explain that a bit more? I know lactate has something to do with muscle fatigue, but I'm not entirely sure how it all works.
You're right, it does. Lactate or lactic acid is a byproduct of intense exercise, especially when your muscles aren't getting enough oxygen. Think of it like this. Your muscles are working so hard, they start producing a bit of exhaust, and that exhaust is lactate.
So the more lactate buildup, the more sore I'll be.
Well, it's not quite that simple. While lactate does play a role in muscle fatigue, you know that burning sensation you feel during a tough workout? It's not the primary cause of soreness. That delayed onset muscle soreness you feel a day or two later, that's mostly due to those microscopic tears in your muscle fibers that we talked about earlier.
Okay, so lactate is more about that in-the-moment burn, and the tears are the real culprits behind the soreness.
Precisely. And as you get fitter, your body actually becomes more efficient at clearing out lactate, which is why you might not feel as burned out during those tough workouts.
That makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
your body becomes a well-oiled machine.
Exactly. Speaking of pushing your body, there's another myth we need to address. This idea that you need to work out to the point of exhaustion every single time to see results.
I think a lot of us fall into that trap, feeling like we haven't worked hard enough, unless we're completely wiped out afterward.
It's a common misconception, and it can actually be counterproductive. Remember, your body needs time to recover and rebuild after those intense workouts. Think of it like this. You wouldn't expect to run a marathon every day, right?
That's a good point. Rest and recovery are just as important as the workout itself.
Absolutely. Give your body the time it needs to repair and come back stronger. Listen to your body's signals. Don't be afraid to take rest days when you need them. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of intelligence.
All right. So ditch the no pain, no gain mentality and embrace the power of rest.
Exactly. Now let's switch gears and talk about diet. Another myth we often encounter is this belief that you need to completely overhaul your diet to see results. which, it can feel really overwhelming to think about giving up everything you enjoy.
Oh, I've been there. It's easy to get caught up in that all-or-nothing thinking.
Well, the key is to focus on progress, not perfection. Instead of trying to eliminate everything unhealthy all at once, just start by making small, gradual changes to your eating habits. Maybe you swap out sugary drinks for water, or add an extra serving of vegetables to your meals.
That seems much more manageable and sustainable. It's about building those healthy habits over time.
Precisely. Focus on crowding out the less nutritious choices. With nutrient-rich whole foods, you'll be amazed at the difference it makes.
This reminds me of another myth that can be pretty discouraging. This idea that you have to do certain types of exercise to be truly fit. It feels like there's a lot of pressure to conform to whatever's trendy at the moment.
Yeah, the fitness world can definitely be a bit of a popularity contest. But the truth is, the best type of exercise is the one that you enjoy and that you can stick with consistently. If you hate running, don't force yourself to run.
It shouldn't feel like a punishment.
Exactly. Find something that brings you joy, whether it's dancing, swimming, hiking, or even just taking a brisk walk in nature.
That's such a liberating perspective. It's about finding what makes you feel good, not what looks good on Instagram.
Precisely. Movement should be a celebration, not a chore.
Okay, so we've debunked this idea that longer workouts are better, that you need to train to exhaustion, and that you have to overhaul your entire diet and exercise routine. I'm starting to see a common thread here.
What are you noticing?
It seems like a lot of these myths are about pushing ourselves to extremes and creating this unrealistic ideal of what it means to be fit.
You're absolutely right. It's all about finding a sustainable approach.
Yeah.
That works for you, not against you.
Which brings us to another myth. That, I think, reinforces that all-or-nothing mentality. You have to exercise for hours every day to see results. It just feels like such a daunting task.
It can certainly seem that way. But remember those NHS guidelines we talked about? 75 minutes of vigorous exercise, or 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week is a fantastic starting point. And you don't have to do it all in one go.
So even a little bit of movement each day can add up.
Absolutely. Consistency is key. Even a 20-minute walk a few times a week can make a significant difference. It's about finding those opportunities to move your body throughout the day, not about punishing yourself with endless hours at the gym.
This is such a great reminder that small changes can lead to big results. It's
Yeah.
not about being perfect. It's about making progress.
Exactly. And speaking of progress, let's talk about another myth that often pops up in discussions about building muscle. You have to eat a ton of protein to gain muscle mass. I think this one can be especially confusing for people who are new to strength training.
There's definitely a lot of hype around protein. I used to think I needed to chug protein shakes all day long to see any results.
Well, it's important to get enough protein,
Yeah.
especially if you're active, but you don't need to go overboard. The recommended daily intake for protein is about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, which is about 55 grams of protein per day for a 150-pound person. And you can easily get that amount through a balanced diet that includes protein-rich foods like lean meats, fish, beans, and tofu.
So those protein shakes aren't always necessary.
They can be helpful if you're having trouble meeting your protein needs through food alone, but they shouldn't replace a healthy, balanced diet.
That's good to know. It takes the pressure off of having to calculate every gram of protein I consume.
Exactly. Now, here's another myth I hear quite often, especially from people who are hesitant to start strength training. Lifting weights will make you less flexible. It's as if they picture themselves becoming these stiff, muscle-bound robots.
I think it comes from this idea that muscles are either big and strong or long and flexible, but not both.
That's a common misconception. In reality, lifting weights through a full range of motion could actually improve your flexibility. When you lift weights correctly, you're not just building strength.
Yeah.
You're also training your muscles to move efficiently through their full range of motion.
So it's like a 2-for-1 deal. You get stronger, A&D, more flexible at the same time.
Exactly. It's about building strength and flexibility in harmony.
I love that. All right, we're on a roll busting myths left and right. What's next on our list? We're back for the final part of our fitness myth-busting extravaganza. I'm feeling so much more confident about my approach to fitness now. It's like I've finally been given permission to ditch the rules and find what works for me.
That's what we like to hear. Remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. And it should be enjoyable.
Exactly. Speaking of enjoying the journey, let's talk about another myth that can really take the fun out of fitness. This idea that you need to be super disciplined and motivated all the time. To be successful, it makes it seem like fitness is only for those superhuman folks with unwavering willpower.
Yeah, it's definitely a myth that can be very discouraging. The truth is, everyone has days when they're not feeling super motivated. Even the most dedicated athletes have those days.
So what's the secret? How do we stay consistent even when motivation is running low?
Well, first of all, be kind to yourself. It's okay to have those off days. The key is to have strategies in place to help you get back on track. Maybe it's finding a workout buddy who keeps you accountable, or setting realistic goals that you can actually achieve, or even just switching things up and trying a new activity to rekindle your enthusiasm.
I love that. It's not about being perfect. It's about finding what works for you and creating a routine that you can actually stick with.
Exactly. And remember, consistency over time is what leads to real lasting change.
Okay, so we don't have to be fitness robots. That's good news. Now let's tackle another myth. That often pops up in weight loss discussions. You need to do tons of cardio to lose weight. Is
Yeah.
that really the case? Do I need to be running marathons every week to see results?
Well, cardio is definitely beneficial for weight loss and overall health, but it's not the only piece of the puzzle. In fact, focusing solely on cardio can sometimes backfire.
How so?
Well, when you lose weight through cardio alone, you often lose a combination of fat and muscle. And remember, muscle is your metabolic powerhouse. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn at rest.
So it's not just about burning calories during a workout. It's about building a body that burns more calories, even when you're not working out.
Exactly. That's where strength training comes in. It's essential for building and maintaining muscle mass, which is crucial for long-term weight management and overall health.
So the ideal approach is to incorporate a mix of cardio and strength training into our routines.
Absolutely. Find a balance that works for you. Remember, variety is the spice of life, and it also helps prevent boredom and plateaus in your fitness journey.
Great advice. Now I want to talk about a myth. That can be especially damaging, particularly for women. You have to look a certain way to be considered fit. It's as if there's this one ideal body type that we're all supposed to strive for.
It's a myth perpetuated by the media and often amplified on social media. But the truth is, fitness is not about aesthetics. It's about health and well-being. And health comes in all shapes and sizes.
So we need to ditch those unrealistic body image ideals and focus on what truly matters. Feeling good in our own skin.
Exactly. Celebrate your unique body and all the amazing things it can do. Move in ways that bring you joy. Nourish yourself with healthy foods. And focus on building strength and vitality.
This is such an important message. It's about shifting our focus from how we look to how we feel.
Precisely. And speaking of feeling good, let's address another myth that often keeps people from getting started with exercise. You need to work out every day to see results. It makes it seem like fitness is this all-consuming endeavor.
I think this myth can be especially intimidating for people who are new to exercise or who have busy schedules.
It's definitely a barrier for many. But remember those NHS guidelines we've been talking about? 75 minutes of vigorous activity or 150 minutes of moderate activity per week is a great goal. And you can spread that out over the week, even breaking it down into smaller chunks throughout the day.
So even a 10-minute walk here and there can make a difference.
Absolutely. It all adds up. Find ways to weave movement into your daily life, whether it's taking the stairs instead of the elevator, walking or biking to work, or simply getting up and stretching every hour.
I love that. It's about finding those little opportunities to move throughout the day.
Exactly. It all contributes to a healthier, happier you.
All right, let's debunk one more myth before we wrap things up. This one has to do with nutrition. Eating fat will make you fat. It seems counterintuitive, but it's a belief that persists.
It's a myth that's been around for far too long. The truth is fat is an essential nutrient that our bodies need to function properly. It plays a role in hormone production, cell growth, and even helps us absorb certain vitamins.
So we shouldn't be afraid of eating fat.
Not at all. The key is to choose healthy fats, like those found in avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil. These fats provide your body with valuable nutrients and can actually help you feel fuller for longer, which can be helpful for weight management.
That makes sense. So it's not about eliminating fat altogether. It's about choosing the right kinds of fat.
Exactly. And remember, like with most things in life, moderation is key.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. It's amazing how much misinformation is out there about fitness.
It can be overwhelming, but by questioning what we hear and seeking out evidence-based information, we can empower ourselves to make informed choices about our health and well-being.
That's the perfect takeaway. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one message you want our listeners to remember?
That fitness doesn't have to be complicated, restrictive, or intimidating. Find what works for you. Listen to your body. and create a sustainable routine that brings you joy.
That's such a powerful message. It's about letting go of those myths and embracing a more balanced and fulfilling approach to fitness. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure. Remember, knowledge is power, and now you're armed with the information you need to create a fitness journey that's uniquely yours.